everyone's curious about something. Okay, everyone's curious about something. So I start where their curiosity begins, not where my interest lies or my intention lies. And by doing that, then I make a connection to race. Okay. Because all of, like, as we're talking, I mean, hopefully the audience is realizing race is very all encompassing. That is kind of how it was designed and that's how it operates. And so, anything can, you can draw a relation with anything in race. And so if you start with people's curiosity and then you use that to draw them, it is inevitable that they have something within their experience that connects to race in a context in which they're curious. It's inevitable. And it will, you will always be able to find it. And that opens the door. And it takes a lot of effort and intentionality to do that, especially consistently. But that is kind of my goal with the contraband wagon, is to use that mechanism and bring it to a stage, invite audience members on the stage and show people that.
How do you feel? What do you feel your success rate is on like getting through to people, or sometimes are there times when it's just like this is just an absolute failure? Just make, or I have no way to connect with a person. Do you feel that much, or
I've never felt that there's no way to connect, but people make their choice, right? So if someone chooses to remain in ignorance, that is very easy to perceive, very transparent to notice. Okay. So if someone makes that choice, that's the end. Okay. That is a conscious decision. That's the
then
end for
you
them.
walk away,
Oh, yeah.
or what happens?
Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
walk away. Yeah.
And how does that come out? As because that's now, do you lose your patience ever in a
No,
situation like
no, no,
that?
no, no, because I know that there's an endpoint, right? So I am persistent in pushing toward that decision. You're either going to make the decision, you're going to make it one way or another, right? If you leave it open, to me that's a win. Okay? To me that's a win if it's still open. If you make the decision to decide I'm closing that door and hold I'm going to hold white supremacy in my heart, then that's a closed door and I'm willing to I'll walk past it.
Do you ever feel there's a false open door where they're just trying to dupe you in to keep you you don't think
Nah.
that happens? You don't think that's a tactic?
I mean, I'm sure that it's a tactic, but like, I am way too perceptive to for anyone to pull that off on me, to be honest.
You think so?
Um,
I wonder. I went well. I've met some conniving people where it's sort of
Me
like
too, brother.
maybe,
Me
but
too.
it could just be. Yeah, I don't know.
What I
I've
would
got my
say,
own
what I would say
suspicions.
to that, Walter, is there are markers of evil. There are
Well,
markers of evil. There are ways to recognize evil even as it's dressed up. And actually, the
it can
more
be
you
the most beautiful thing, though. That's how it wins. Sometimes,
say it again.
sometimes it can be the most beautiful thing. Sometimes it presents itself. It. There are people. I guess though, too. A lot of it is, as you're further along your path, this, just kind of spiritual peace. Maybe there's fewer vulnerabilities that can be exploited.
You know what it is, brother. I use mathematics. I literally use pure math in order to distinguish. It's very difficult for me to explain that or like kind of but math is absolute. So I don't have to be guessing
Well, I'm
at this
curious
stage.
though. Tell me the process of that a little more.
Oh my
If you,
goodness.
if you,
I've
well, the
this would
shortened
this would
version.
be the second time I've ever talked about it.
Okay, good.
The first time was actually in a racism discussion group. Actually, one of the people in the chat here was there for a couple of people in the chat were there for that. So listen, this is hot off the presses, y'all. I'm gonna do it raw, okay? But the way that it works is everything is connected to math, just like everything is connected to race, you know. But in the race context, it's socially. In the math context, it's natural. It's part of nature. It's beyond the scope of human control or ability to do anything about. The way that math works and can be applied is by understanding all the formulas that we learn, the algebra, the commutative property, the operations, all of that stuff. It has real life applications. Sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect, sometimes it's 100%, sometimes it's partial. But all you have to do in order to learn how to apply math is find out what the relations are. So in the race context, most people have no concept of what the relation between math and race is. Like that's not really a thing, that is in anyone's, for the most part, minds, imaginations even. So it was in mine because of my interest in both race and math at a very young age. I studied math heavily when I was very young. Thank you to my dad. I just had lunch with him today, and I thanked him for that today because it allowed me to do exactly what I'm talking to you about, which is to find a relation between race and math. There is a relationship between math and language and how people use language. I think that is probably easier for you to understand as a writer, probably. I was an English major, brother. I got a English creative writing degree, but I had already taken a lot of advanced math courses by the time I was getting that degree, and I continued my study in math after that. And I found a lot of connections between writing and math that I never have heard anyone talk about ever. And then I found a lot of connections between language and math I've never heard anyone talk about. And I used those applications of math to language in order to learn how to listen to people, in order to distinguish integrity and a lack of integrity. That's just one aspect, but there are quite a large number of dimensions in which I've learned to expand from there. And
Uh-huh.
so that's why I'm saying that it's impossible for anyone to do that to me at this point.
When I in my last year of college, you might like this, but in my last year of college, I was getting kind of anxious because I was getting my literature degree, and it's you start getting a little. You're like, well, how much good is this going to be? So so at that point it was about my last year and a half. I decided to pick up a minor in physics, just so I had something on my transcript that was a little meatier. It's one of those things where it'll get you in the door a little bit. So I think I kind of understand what you're saying. In my English classes, you're kind of at the mercy of the teacher, and a lot of that kind of tapped into my farmer skepticism of anybody who's an expert, because it's like they're just talking and talking. I would sit in the physics class, and it was just a relief to me after being because I was getting frustrated in my English classes. I'd sit in the physics classes, that calculation added up, and they would go through it on the board. It's like you're following it, and it does. It orders your mind. To this day, the class. So I think I kind of understand what you're talking about because it just learning that process of physics. There was we were sitting in a class, and the teacher, one of the students asked because there's like these three core classes, and we were like in the last one, and the teachers they made their physics program where I went to college where you could pick up the minor relatively. It was still difficult, but it was kind of designed to fit into a lot of different majors. And they were just like, one of the students asked, "Is like, who are all the majors in here?" And the guy's like, "Oh, we got 30 chemistry majors and 20 the math majors and one English major." That was me over in the corner. So but it was like it's been so valuable, just like that hard deductive reasoning that you get. And the one thing that's great, maybe the most important thing I picked up from my physics classes was that your intuition on things is really bad.
You
And we'd
cannot
have
rely
times
on
where,
it.
yeah, they'd give you, it's like, make a prediction here. You'd make a prediction, you do the calculations, your prediction is exactly wrong. It's not like a little wrong. It's 100, it's completely the wrong direction. So that's the thing where it's like you sit down and you do the work, even if you think you're right about something, you sit down and do the work, you do those calculations, and like you were saying before, methodically, meticulously. I try to tell that to my daughters too, because they'll get it's like, nope. That's the one time in my life where I've got neat handwriting is when I'm doing an equation. Write it out the one thing and then it's like you change the equation around, write the next one where it's right again. Don't skip any steps. That's where mistakes happen. So those that being meticulous, people always would laugh though too. They'd say, it doesn't make any sense to be an English major and a physics minor. And it's like, well, think of what they used to call physics. It used to be called natural philosophy. And then they're like, oh, it does fit in when you think of it that way. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's been a real. So like using them, I'll have to think a little bit more. I still don't quite understand.
Yeah, I mean,
your method, but I'd
that's
like to
so
hear more
raw
about
what
that.
I just said.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'd like to hear more about it. I think I understand the framework for what you're talking about, that deductive reasoning approach.
thanks for watching. For access to the full length conversation and all of the 2 hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.